Welcome. I'm Mr. Hammond, and welcome to U.S. History 2, 1895 to the present. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, both parents and students. But today we'll talk a little bit about the class, give you a sense of what we're going to be doing. And so why don't we just get started? So again, I'm Mr. Hammond, and I'm looking forward to teaching U.S. History this year. And the first thing I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about myself, share a few thoughts overall about my approach to the class, and then we'll go through with a little more detail about the class. So first, who am I? Well, I'm an Army brat. I was born in Texas. I lived in Army bases all over the United States and in Germany. I graduated from high school in Northern Virginia, and I went to college where I was a government and history major. Later on, I then went to law school, clerked for a federal judge, and after that, I worked 25 years at the Department of Justice in the Antitrust Division. While at the Antitrust Division, I worked on hundreds of investigations and several trials. Just a year ago, and then last March, I had an opportunity to take early retirement from the Department of Justice, so I did. I then did a Master's of Arts in Teaching program, and this is my first year as a school teacher. But 25 years at the Department of Justice and my jobs before that have given me a lot of practical experience teaching and learning over the last 30 years. A bit more about myself. My wife and I have lived in DC over 25 years. She actually has lived here longer than that. My son was born in DC, and he's a product of the DC public schools. He's now a sophomore in college at nursing school. And I live and die by the Washington Capitals, a little less so by the Washington Nationals, and a seminal moment in my life was seeing the movie Star Wars in 1977. I'm excited to be teaching U.S. history. There's so much we can learn from it, good and bad. And there's so much that we can apply to today. So, on to the class. So some broad thoughts about the class and how we're going to approach it. It's not about memorizing dates, places, and names. That's boring. And if you're like me, you'll just forget them. We'll learn the facts that we need to as we take a deeper dive into a variety of topics. We're going to pick the topics based on student interest, but also to make sure that we cover the facts anybody needs for any standardized tests. Instead, we're going to work to connect historical events and people to each other and the modern world. They only mean something in context and how they connect to other things. How did we end up where we are today? What can we learn from the past, good or bad? We're going to do that by asking why. Looking at different viewpoints and determining which is the right one based on the historical evidence. Why does it matter today? If it doesn't, it's just a nice story. Well, in doing so, we're going to look to see what is the truth. That's going to be a journey that we take together, the students and I. We're not going to shy away from the facts, even if they show that a revered American hero had a major character flaw. And we won't just be writing papers or taking tests. We will also work together on a variety of projects to share what we've learned and to teach each other. These could be a podcast, a multimedia presentation, or a short video documentary. It is only limited by your creativity and imagination. And at the end of the year, if all goes as planned, each and every student should have a better sense of the ebb and flow of U.S. history since the Civil War, how to test and question and determine what is supported by the historical facts, how to put together an argument to explain what they've learned that is supported by facts, and be able to connect U.S. history to the modern world. It'll help us better navigate this world. And they should be better able to think for themselves and make their own decisions. So now let's talk about a little bit more detail of the rest of the class. So what are we going to cover? How the past influences the present. What can we learn from the past? How everything is connected. What is the truth? We're going to follow the evidence, do our own analysis, and put together our own arguments to support them. But we're also going to have some flexibility. If as we go through the year, it turns out that students are more interested in particular topics, we may spend more time on those. How? How are we going to make this happen? Well, together. We're going to be teaching each other. Students are going to be teaching students. Students are going to be teaching me. I suspect by the end of the year, I will have learned as much from the students as maybe they have in this class. One of the key ways we're going to do this is we're going to question things. We're going to test them. We're going to look at whether or not there are facts and information to support the claims of what happened in history. One of the key ways we're going to do that is we're going to go to the source. For example, we have here a letter from a World War II soldier. And then we also have a speech, President Eisenhower, when he was leaving office, with his own personal notes on it. This is the speech where he warned about the military-industrial complex. And like as I said, we're going to make connections. How does everything map together? What connected? What impacted what? And we're going to do this by collaborating, working together, and creating. I'm thinking of myself as going to be a partner with the students, facilitating their learning. And as I said, we're not going to waste our time memorizing dates and names. We'll learn what we need to learn for any of the tests or standardized tests as we go through the topics. And what will we do on this journey? Well, first and foremost, thank you, Aretha, is we will respect ourselves and each other. We will think for ourselves. We will follow the evidence. We will do the work, and we will work together. Part of this is going to be experimenting and imagining. As I said earlier, the projects are only limited by our own imagination. And then also, we're going to ask for help. I don't expect anyone, if we're using a particular podcasting software, to spend all this time banging their head against the wall because they can't make it work. They can ask me. They can ask their fellow students. We'll make sure that you can learn it. We'll make sure you have access to it and can use it. Now, of course, how are we going to measure that? There's grading. Well, for me, the thing that matters most is where the students end up at the end of the term. And that's what we're going to focus on grading. In doing that, we're going to look at homework, which also includes participation, assessments, tests and other things like that, usually individual work, but also projects. And projects are generally going to be done in small groups. So people will be working together and collaborating to make a really good project that they all can be proud of. And that's going to be another 40%. Tests can be retaken, and most other assignments can be revised for a regrade without penalty. If an assignment cannot be revised, students will know that, or if it's a limited option because of the end of the term coming. However, turning assignments in on time is important because that's the way you get timely feedback if you want to make any revisions. Lastly, I am willing to talk to you anytime, both parent and student together, for any reason. If you reach out to me, I will respond within a day. If you leave a message or a text, please remember to identify yourself and your student and tell me how to best contact you. As for meetings, we can do them in person or online. I can work with you in your schedule. Emailing me is probably the best way. I'm not going to be looking at my phone all day during the school day, but I will be checking that in the morning and at the end of the day. You can also call or text me, and the number's there, and I will. So again, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to this year. And I hope people are coming in with a questioning mind and wanting to learn something that matters and that they connect to today.